Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have two lovely ladies amongst us. And whilst they don't need any introduction, Dia Mirza, a model, actress, producer, has won the 2000 Miss Asia Pacific International title. She has worked in Bollywood, is known in media for her social work. She co-owns a production house called Born Free Entertainment, along with her now husband Sahil Sangha. Their first film, Love Breakup Zindagi, made to the banner, was the first release in 2011, I think. Dia has worked when she was in college as a marketing executive for media firms, so that makes an interesting combination to listen to her today. At the same time, she modeled for a print and TV commercials for brands like Lipton, Walls Ice Cream, Imami, and many more. She won the Miss Asia Pacific in the year 2000, and she appeared in many, many movies after that. She has done various awareness campaigns on prevention of female feticide, HIV awareness, Cancer Patient Aid Association, PETA, ADAPT, CRY. She's also publicly supported the Narmada Bachao Andolan. So she's a strong voice of the media on social causes, and it is a complete pleasure to welcome Dia on stage. The other lovely lady, Richa Chadha. She is an actress. She's made her Bollywood debut with a comedy film, Oye Lucky Lucky Oye, which happened in 2008, I think. She has been praised for her performance in the 2000 crime film Gangs of Wasseypur, both part 1 and 2, for which she was even awarded the Filmfare Critics Award for Best Actress. She's born in Amritsar, brought up in Delhi, and has done a graduations in history from St. Stephen's College in Delhi, and she also has a PG diploma in social communication media from Sapphire College. It is our extreme pleasure to welcome Richa on stage. And I'd like to welcome on stage Anuja Gulati. She is the officer for Maharashtra for UNFPA, who's going to be leading this session. Please, ladies. And there's going the other empty chairs, that's for me. So, and I'm going to get in there in a bit. And before we start the session, it would be a pleasure to have Mr. Rajat Ray, who is the Senior Advocacy and Communication Officer of UNFPA, who wants to share a few words with us before we start our panel discussion. Mr. Ray.
Thank you. If you notice, there were two interesting things. The way you stressed on few, and when you said few words. And the other is, with these people sitting here, it's to tell me that better make it quick and short. So I'll try and do that. I essentially had a talk for 15 minutes. I'll try and crunch it to 5 or less. And if I go fast, don't ask me what I mean, because there wouldn't be any time. But anyway, before I start, let me give you a small little real story from Vrindavan. We've all heard of Vrindavan, and I'm sure all of us have heard about the widows of Vrindavan. People have? Okay, fine. So for those of you who haven't, these are a whole lot of widows, all in white, who have, because of various circumstances, some been pushed out of their houses, mostly from Bengal, who land up at Vrindavan, to live a simple life there. And they are not really in the best of situations. They're pretty unhappy in various ways. A lot of people have tried to give them training, funds. It didn't work. But why I'm talking about this is to tell you that suddenly came one person who said that I have a pot of money that I can give as funding for doing work to transform the life of these widows. But let me do it my way. What this person did was he went up to a set of these people in one area and said, here's this money. I'll give you this money, but on one condition. You'll get 2,000 rupees a month, which was a big amount for them, but you'll get this money if you wear colored saris. And it's up to you. If you want to wear it, fine. If you don't, it's okay. These people said, no, we can't. The temple priest said, you can't, and all that happened. So they went back. But then they started thinking that, look, there's no one to think for us. There's no one to look after us. Why the hell should we wear white? And then some of them said, to hell with the whole world, I'm going to go and wear colored saris. So all this kept happening. A week and a half later, some of them came back wearing color. People may say they were coerced, but interestingly, as this started happening, the fact that they rebelled, the fact that they said, to hell with the world, we will decide for ourselves, gave them a new sense of confidence. Suddenly, the same people were coming back for training. The same people are now some of the strongest people there working on their own for themselves. Now, whether it's a good way or bad way is a different matter. But why I picked this up is because here there was a tough customer, our target audience. Someone came to talk about a brand loyalty to a way of living. They came up with a dirty word to use, but a promotional scheme, and ultimately they won the market. That's what we do all the time. That's where we figure out that there's a tough situation, let's do it differently. Today, the whole government, everyone's talking about Swachh Bharat, and we will normally go and do our training and all that. You may say, hey, there's a different way of doing it. Let's try and tell them that if your women, if your people don't need to go out for open defecation before sunrise, it's safe for them. There may be different ways of doing it. Why I bring this up, and I'm almost at the end of my story because I'm taking out the second page, is that today we are at a situation where a huge number of countries are going for CSR. We have heard a lot about CSR, I'll not get into that. But what happens is that money goes directly to the NGOs. If there is, we have at UNFPA been talking to many clients. We have already set up a joint venture or a partnership with an advertising agency for CSR. And we find that most clients want a brand value apart from social value. There's no harm in that. Now, if they want brand value, that's something that people who think like you, who work like you, can give them. Now, there's a huge opportunity there. Like when you went to social communication, you went into rural communication, this is perhaps the next step. If agencies come forward and say, we will help you design that big difference in the way you do work with people in the ground, we will make your brand go further, then A, you will get more billing. B, you will be able to give your clients a 360 degrees approach because it's also about communication there, and perhaps you'll get more clients coming your way. This has been done. UNFPA and Dentsu have set up what we call the Citizen Dentsu UNFPA CSR Advisory. It's working well, and we find that more and more clients seem eager to give an extra bit of fee for coming up with an amazing package that can then be used as CSR for them. I leave you with this thought. There was a lot more to share, some other time, some other day, but think about it as your next diversification or value add to your clients. If this could be a value add to social and rural communication, and agencies come forward and help us make CSR and work in the development sector more brand savvy, action oriented, impact oriented, perhaps you would have done even more than a lot of good ads, which perhaps will take a long time for people to react to and for things to change. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Was that short?
Yes.
So once again, on behalf of UNFPA, IAA, and Population First, I'd like to welcome both of you here. Thank you so much for having made it. On time, and we're sorry to have kept you waiting this long. So bear with us for this. Another 10 to 12 minutes to go. And well, for the last couple of hours, we've really been discussing the role of media and how it's it is a huge influencer, and how it can greatly impact mindsets, and how advertising has been successful in changing the portrayal of women. And coming from the film industry, I, I just thought, and I can see that wonderful smile on Dia's face, I thought I should ask you some maybe standard but very pertinent questions. It's generally believed that Hindi cinema is constructed from the male point of view. And both of you have been leading ladies. And generally, the leading lady in Hindi cinema conforms to the normal values, traditional values of Indian society. And what do you feel about this? Do you feel it is true? And if it is, can this be changed? Is it changing over the years, 100 years of Indian cinema?
Oh my God, you're opening Pandora's box. Thank you for having us. I'm very, very honored to be here. I was hoping to see many more people, but it's wonderful that you're here because it means that you are going to be a part of some great proactive change. I also have great respect for the advertising community. I think there's wonderful work happening, and each time I'm asked about my role as a producer in Hindi film and the aspirations that I have with the way we tell our stories, I always give advertising as an example for how the role of Indian women and the perception of the Indian woman has evolved so beautifully and is challenging the way we think as creative people. And I really wish that the film industry would learn a lesson or two from the advertising industry. I really wish we would. Ma'am, you asked me a multitude of questions. There were 4 there because they address different aspects. But I'll try and answer your question without, and I'll try and be as brief as I can. But let me just say that one of my early impressions being an actor in Hindi film was, if you have a brain, you're expected to leave it at home. Don't carry your mind to work. Don't ask questions, because quite frankly, no one's interested in answering them. And if you persist and continue to ask, then the chances that you're met with what is wrong with you, or you ask too many questions, or if you want to really be happy and successful in this industry, just do your work and go home. I started working in a time when there was a paradigm shift taking place in the Hindi film industry. The multiplex had just about come into existence. I joined the film industry in 2000 when, I'll give you a small example. I heard a script narration which lasted 20 minutes from a very big male star. And he narrated the entire story from his point of view. And he did this in the hope that I would say yes to being a part of this film. And when the narration was over, I remember looking at the person who had taken me to meet this big star, saying, what is my part in this film and what is the story? Because I just got a character study here. I got a sense of what he's doing, but what is everybody else doing and what is this film about? And this person looked at me and said, listen, this is this big star and you're going to be in 4 songs. 4 songs, beat that. And there's no other actress in the movie. You'll be the solo lead. So you should not be even asking anything, and you get paid really well. That's the bottom line. You're going to get big money. So just shut up and say yes. I said yes. I was very young. I was 19. And with every experience and with each passing year, my consciousness, my intelligence, and my thoughts and my beliefs were constantly injured and insulted. And at some point, I felt I was losing myself. I was losing me to this world of characters that lived in a completely warped sense of reality which was considered escapist because cinema is meant to be aspirational and escapist because everybody has a hard life in India. And no, we don't want to go to the theaters to sob and cry and feel sorry for somebody. We want to be entertained. So we will objectify our women to the extent and the degree that it is vulgar, and we will make our women uncomfortable, and the ones who are happy with the paycheck and who are okay with these titles will survive and do remarkably well, and the ones who are not will find new direction, as I did. I chose to make films because I wanted to define the voice that I believed I had as a woman thinking film person. I'm not an actor, I'm not a producer, I'm not a writer, I'm not a director, I am a human being. I have values, I have thoughts, I have feelings, and I am so lucky to be a part of a platform and a medium that can make such a beautiful difference to lives. And I hope that what I've just said answers all your questions, ma'am, and some. But I know we are all in a hurry, so I was hoping that I'd cover as much as I could. And I'm very sure Richa, who I admire this lady here. I really do. I saw her first film and I loved her in it. And I saw another film of hers called Gangs of Wasseypur. I have to share this with you. It's a very sweet, small, short story. So I saw Gangs of Wasseypur. She's a firecracker in the film. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant actor. And I was so envious of this film and this part that she played in it. And I said, Richa, you are so lucky to have come into the industry at a time when women are getting to play such interesting parts, where filmmakers have stopped being lazy, have stopped boxing our women into stereotypes. And she plays those parts today, and with great elan. But I can sense somewhere that there is a very large community within this industry that is coercing her to become somebody she is not. And I hope one day she'll see that. But she's a spirited girl. I know she'll fight and she'll still do her own thing. She will resist it.
I like this. Hello? Saying I like this character study Diya's done of me. Well, firstly, I've done really different kind of films since I got in, and I've been lucky to have been given those parts. And I hope to continue to do that in all my work. And I think it's time we look at characters like characters, starting from people within the film industry and not as male characters or female characters. Or I am dead tired of being called 10 a.m. in the morning and saying, oh, we have a female-oriented script. I mean, just that defeats the purpose for me, because I'm like, you never told me that the other films that I did or the ones that you're making are male-dominated films. You just said they were films. So, yes, I've been lucky to come into the industry where people have more awareness, they have access to the internet, they look at things differently, where women are going and buying tickets for movies and pirating some and really like having a good time with them. And yes, the film industry largely wants women to be a certain way. But I think now is a time where pretty much everybody has a voice and I mean, I don't think I would have had a career 10 years ago with the kind of work that I've done. Thanks, but you're just too kind.
You would have taken a little more time to knock the brains.
Yeah. Perhaps, but and the irony of this is it exists on both sides of the spectrum, because I've worked now in some commercial films as well. The way the commercial films view an actor or a female actor or just an actor is very different from how an arty film views a commercial star, and yet they're interdependent, and you always need to perform well, but it's the prejudices exist in both sides of the spectrum. As I don't know, I think there's no change in the minds of the audience with respect to films. Like, you know, you'll think Queen is a great film. But within the industry, they'll say, oh, Queen is a great film where one commercial actress took a chance and did a slightly offbeat role. That's the industry for you. The other consumer is not the same. They just go and buy a ticket and watch a movie. And we hope I hope that there are more producers like Dia that make quality content. This year, her film Bobby Jasus came out. I thought it was heartwarming and special. And it really touched upon many things without really being flag bearer for anything in particular. And I hope that we have, yeah, welcome. I hope that we continue to like push it just a bit every time, because it's not essential that the change that we are trying to create will come in our lifetime. I'm so certain that it may not, but we'll try.
Thank you so much. Dia, thanks for having at least put on record that yes, women used to be used merely as decorative objects, and how you decided to make a choice. And so congratulations to you for that, and she's really explained how you did that. So wonderful. Yes, she is a reflection of that. And you, Richa, since you talked of parallel cinema and also talked of mainstream cinema, and we know, and here I'm not talking of you know, what is generally called a very women-centric film, The Dirty Picture, but a dialogue from that, which said, "Filmein sirf teen cheezon se chalti hain: entertainment, entertainment, or entertainment." And we know that the main aim of Indian cinema, at least mainstream cinema, is entertainment. But keeping the entertainment quotient intact, do you think they can promote more egalitarian images of women? And that's a question to you, Richa.
I think there's a judgment within the minds of the women themselves about how they ought to. I'll give you an example. I just did a film where I was supposed to play a small town girl who has a lot of sexual curiosity. So she's come of age, she's in her mid-20s, but she doesn't have access to male touch, doesn't have friends, tries to get around, make friends on Facebook, and, you know, probably go to like a small chart shop to sort of meet boys. And it's normal and it's healthy. But me being the urban, educated, completely, I would say, liberal person that I am, still while performing the character, many times had judgments within my own mind about how I should portray her. Oh, you know, if I say it like this, they may think I'm promiscuous. I don't want them to think I'm promiscuous. But, you know, I just want them to know that I have a normal, healthy sexual curiosity, which every girl ought to have, because, you know, we are people. But there was so much censorship in my own head about it that I was amazed that this well-traveled, well-read person, daughter of a professor, can think like this. And I think that's what it is largely. I think it's people in the industry that have lots of prejudices about the roles that they take up. And this film I did will still be considered arty, but I hope to do more such films where like a character is normal and, you know, talks about things that are normal, like menstruation, without making them like squirm. Or, you know, I like the sanitary napkin ads have evolved a bit, so I like that. And it's no longer a shameful thing, you know, to bleed 5 days a month. We all do. And yes, and to have sexual curiosity, to have desire for, desire to learn, to be as ambitious as the male in your family, to make money, to have a career, to have babies, and to really have it all, you know. So I'm seeing a change in, because of the scripts I got 5 years ago and the scripts I get today, there is a change. And I'm really grateful for that change.
Great. You mentioned that, yes, Indian cinema is moving away from the mere white and black portrayal of women, where she's either the good wife, mother, daughter, or you know, the vamp, the negative character, or the other woman, to having more gray shades. So thank you for that. Monica, you know, you've been such an embodiment of the issue of women's empowerment and emancipation, and the wonderful effort you put in organizing the earlier seminar on violence on women, and this one on changing portrayal of women in Indian advertising. I just wanted to ask you, what is it that you do to promote a more equal, gender equal workplace in your organization?
Okay. Well, again, thank you once again for making me part of this panel, wonderful panel. I have a fabulous mix of two amazing women, which I absolutely respect and admire, their work and what they have done and what they represent in today's media. Me being from a corporate world, considering that, have been in the industry for over 25 years now, and been part of different organizations, primarily media and broadcasting. One of the things which I have really propagated very strongly, and sometimes not to the to my male boss's dismay, has been women empowerment and giving them a very open, transparent way of growth. Being a woman in the industry, having grown through the corporate ladder, one has faced through various experiences. But I think on the whole, like Tia and Richa have mentioned, what was happening on screen 10 years ago was happening behind screen 10 years ago as well. And that is changing both ways. So if it's changing on screen with opportunities and different kind of roles being offered to women on screen, similar sentiment and mood is off screen as well. And I think women have been given that much, there's so much more which is happening out there where women are being able to show their might and being able to do well and grow without having to compromise. I've been part of various organizations where I've been part of, whether it's been a sexual harassment committee, for example, to deal with certain issues. Current organization where I work for, HBO, 90% of my office, which is very small in number, is women. I've just got only one man in my team. Yeah, he's stuck with a whole lot of women. So everyone's doing their bit, and I definitely am, and I am appreciative of what is happening in the industry, especially advertising, and the results are absolutely encouraging, and it's wonderful to see that the change is being felt, not only in just for the sake of, that I've ticked that box, I've made one ad, but I still continue. I think that fundamentally, and you heard that in the room today, across various people from different walks of life saying that they are experiencing change, they can see the change happening, and which is fantastic. And I just hope that, I still believe that it's still the tip of the iceberg. There's still so much to do on and off screen. And I think these are the voices in this room which can make it happen. And I think we're all committed to that.
Thank you, Monica. Just to add on to what you said, and we've had two wonderful presentations from HDFC directly and one from Pops, because he's been so closely associated. And just wanted to ask you a question. You said what's happening on screen is also happening off screen, and there comes in this entire change of the way women are portrayed in advertising. Do you think this tweaking of advertisements a little bit to include women or to include a more equal society, gender equality, would make any impact on sales?
Sales of the product?
Sales of the product?
I think so, it does. I mean, and for the benefit, it's coming through. I mean, you're seeing a lot of advertising which is doing extremely well. I mean, I think someone did mention Havells has this the biggest share in the fan market now. Who would have thought, like, a company like Havells brand, a fan brand, would go down this path of changing of gender frames. And at the end of the day, we all know we're in a business, right? I mean, we need to make money, we need to sell. And no one's going to do this because it's just to get a few awards or showcase in seminars like this, right? They are doing it because it is doing well for the business. And in the space of while doing good for the business, if you're able to communicate a change and if you're going to subliminally show that change, I think that's fantastic. And we've seen some great examples out there. I do believe there's much more which can be done in the advertising space as well. And I think there is a commitment of sorts from the industry which will happen.
Great, thank you.
I said it's also because we are making more money now, so we can buy our own products.
Great, Richa. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Coming back to you, Dia, and this is a question that's often talked about when it comes to films, especially Hindi cinema. And this is the use of item numbers, and basically the fact that item numbers really add to the commercial viability of a film, or but in reality, actually, in reality,
You don't need
in
to shrug
reality,
the thought
actually, it is it's all about the female body getting the male gaze, and like you said, objectification of women. So do you think there could be other ways to make films more commercially viable, or could films do without item songs, without the munnis and the chikni chamelis? Yes, absolutely.
I would have actually liked to have answered your last question as well. But I was listening to Laila Mein Laila last night. Do you remember the lyrics of Laila Mein Laila? Laila Mein Laila, Laila. And paying close attention to the lyrics, and my husband and I were talking about how we had item numbers in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And they were item numbers. So there has always been objectification of women, and quite frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with objectification of men or women, because sex plays a very important role in desires, want, needs, etc. It's a driving force in most choices of life. But it's our perception of sex that needs to change. It is vulgar objectification that we need to kind of address very fiercely. What assaults our senses when we watch these item songs is not the fact that it is an item song, it is the choice of lyrics. Tandoori murgi samajh ke gatkale piya. When I hear those lyrics, my skin crawls and my blood boils. And I also think of the person who was okay with being in that song. And an elderly person once asked me, a grandfather, at a similar forum, it was a panel discussion, and a senior gentleman raised his hand and he said, "You're an actor. You know, there was a time when only the vamp did item songs." So there's a very clear distinction, black and white. The negative character, the vamp, is the girl that performs in the item song. So it's okay to objectify the vamp. But today, leading mainstream actresses who are supposed to be the sweet girl, the girl with the morals, the scruples, the principle, the girl that everybody wants to run away with and, marry someday, is the one who's dancing in the item song to lyrics that are very harsh. And I see my grandchild, who's a very big fan of this actress, singing those lyrics and dancing to that song. And it assaults my senses, it upsets me, and don't you believe that as an actress, it is your moral responsibility to not let that happen? My answer is always very straight. We live in a time of choice. The greatest power each of us has within the film industry, as actors, as filmmakers, is the fact that we always have the choice. I will always wonder what drives, and it's economics. I know for a fact that many people think that the business of a certain film escalated by 20 crores because a leading film actress was seen in that item song. The success of that film is not attributed to just the fact that it was a very good script. It was a very powerful story. It was very entertaining, very colorful, very exciting. So I really feel that with the exposure that we have, with the questions that we're raising in society, with the kind of fundamental choices that people are addressing, I think I'm hopeful that even the film industry we'll stop containing our characters, whether they're male or female, and stop containing our stories within small, myopic boxes. And I hope that we start opening those boxes out and stretching ourselves and admitting that a film like Three Idiots, that did not have an item song, that did not have vulgar objectification. I noticed the trailers of PK, Anushka's blouse is pretty low, but that's okay.
And Amir has no clothes.
And Amir is not wearing clothes. But it's not vulgar objectification. You're not telling your audience, come watch this film because Anushka is in a clinging tight top and you can see her cleavage. You're not saying that. That's not your point of communication. Or you're not saying, there's kissing in my film, so you better come to the theater. You're saying, here, man, there's a story, it's different. It might interest you. A very big star is supporting this thought. And that might guide your audience into the theater or want to watch the film. So I think there are very many people within the industry that are beginning to make conscious decisions, I think. But at the end of the day, it is for the women within the industry to make that final choice, to be able to say no. And if they do say yes, to know the consequences of that yes. And if they're still okay with it, that's their choice. And I can't sit in judgment of them. And we can't sit in judgment of them. Then as a grandparent, change the channel. You know, tell your grandchild why you think it, because even in his opinion, there was a very archaic perception of what is right and what is wrong. He basically said, it should be black and white. The vamp should be doing the item song. Why is the leading lady doing it? I was like, there's something terribly upsetting about what you're saying right now, but we'll have that conversation another day.
Yes, very patriarchal in that. Richa, you also wanted to give your opinion,
yeah.
but can I add a little question to that? And okay, it will be little. You know, this entire thing of objectifying the female body and the male gaze that you talked about and that the question I asked, does it justify instances of eve teasing and sexual harassment that we see you know, so often in society? And you know, do these item numbers actually go ahead and justify such happenings?
I just rolled my eyes. I don't know if you could hear it. Well, first I'll talk about the item song thing. See, I'm going to flip it on the head. In the 50s and 60s, when there was Asha Parekh as the heroine and Helen as the cabaret woman, the item song girl, the vamp or just somebody who's a dancer in a club, just singing and, you know, has no part in the movie, I think it's major emancipation that the leading lady of today is allowed to have a sexuality, that she can play an item song or her songs in her film look like item songs to the viewer. Do people follow what I'm saying? Okay. The second thing I'm saying is that as an actor you study, there are navarasas in acting. One of the primary ones is the Shringar Ras, which talks about love, talks about Shringar, it talks about consummation, it talks about fornication, and all other such forbidden things. And in that, I think, an aesthetically short, beautiful song which has elements of the Shringar Ras is a part of my job. I'm not going to make a deal of it and say, oh, this is, the lyrics I definitely do agree. I think a star that big could have said that, hey, can you change this line? You know, I don't like it, yeah. It could have happened. It was that simple, but whatever, yeah. So I'm saying that I think it's great. People doing item songs, lots of men do item songs to promote their films also. I mean, like, it's true. Salman, Ritik, all those people. They do these songs to promote their films. They're a gimmick to promote the film. Like you make an ad, it's an ad to promote the film. And the films do business because of those. So I just feel objectification is, the problem is in our head and the way we look at sex. So we condemn a certain thing and we approve of a certain thing because we think this is what we ought to see. And this is what we ought not to see. This is taboo and this is not okay. And which is where the problem happens. And as far as this leading to eve teasing and this horrific incidents happen every day in this glorious country where we have 8 days of Durga Puja, 9 days of Navratras and 25 days of Ashtami. We worship the goddess, but we have not the least bit of respect for the female. So the problem is not the item songs, because if it was, then there would not have been rapes in 1920. There was no item songs then. Item songs do not lead to rape. That's so simplistic. Women wearing short clothes do not lead to rape. Exactly.
Definitely they do.
Yeah.
But they do promote a mindset that, I said, they do promote a mindset that, yes, if that's acceptable in films, and, that's what is impacting me, let me also try and eve tease, or, even the light flirt, those little flirtatious songs, where a girl does not want to really give in, but at the end of the song she says yes, and where no.
She's talking about the little things that we show as okay. Satyamev Jayate just concluded their second season, and Amir Khan did a very interesting show, his finale show episode. If you've not seen it, please watch it. It's pretty fantastic. He is addressing masculinity and the concept of masculinity in India and the perception of what the male ego is meant to be. Mard ka bachcha matlab uska matlab kya hota hai. Very interesting voices came through on that episode. And one of the voices that really fascinated me, and he touched upon the fact that he holds himself also responsible for the distortion or this warped sense of mardangi and what it means to be cool or the hero, and what are the things that heroes do in film to attract the woman's attention. So I think that's what essentially she was trying to say. And we are completely responsible for a lot of nonsense. But the good thing is that Amir Khan is talking about it, which means perhaps that a few more people within the industry, the men especially, might dismiss what he's saying and saying, yaar, ye pseudo-intellectual baatein mujhe samajh mein nahi aati, mujhe sirf numbers dikhte hain. Or a few of them might sit up and say, hey, what he's saying makes damn good sense. And perhaps it's time we readdress the way we project what is cool to be a man, what is not cool to be a man, and therefore sensitize the manner in which our characters are treating female characters within film. It's a big responsibility. Awareness is happening in that direction. I also feel that the younger generation, Ranveer, I can't think of more because right now I've just seen some of their films that I came back away from after watching and saying, I'm really excited with the choices these boys are making because they are supporting and backing some very good cinema. And they're backing thoughts that will really make a difference to the way the younger generation is perceiving women characters, male characters, and what is considered to be good or bad within society. I wrote an article for Huffington Post yesterday. It's called Let's Talk About Sex. And it addresses a very simple thing that I really feel, it's simplistic in its approach, but I feel that the fact that we are so coy and we are so uncomfortable or timid about our conversation regarding sex with our children, and it starts at home. The fact that a husband will not demonstrate affection to his wife in the presence of his children because that's not nice or okay, or the fact that a mother finds it awkward or embarrassing to talk about sex with her 12-year-old son or her 11-year-old son, and the values that surround sex. The fact that it's a function of two consenting adults, and that there is so much tenderness and respect and purity that can be attached with sex. If young children, I see some men getting restless at the back, But if our young children at home, our young minds, are spoken to about sex and the values that can be associated with sex, then perhaps our society would stop being so just so harsh in approaching it. It takes a very dispassionate and a very cold heart to rape a woman, you know. And if that man had been sensitized about how poignant and how beautiful and how wonderful this act can be, then perhaps he would not find it in himself to be able to rape a woman. And these are things that we need to start talking about at home with our children. I know that in the 80s and 90s, a lot of parents started being okay with talking about sex. And I know a lot of women who've told their sons, beta, make sure you use a condom. That's really as far as they get. Why? Because there was this fear of AIDS. So a lot of educated parents started telling their children, make sure you have protected sex. But that's the only distance they were willing to go. If parents can say, or make it an open space for children to say, express what it means to be attracted, how they feel, how to handle their attraction, what to do with themselves when they're feeling a particular way. I really, I hope you think deep into this. I really believe that a lot of our stereotypes and a lot of our imbalances in our imagery, in our thoughts, in our communication, in our language will change. And that will make a difference to our society, a huge difference.
Thank you so much, Dia, for having raised this issue. I'd just like to mention here for all of you that the organization I represent, the United Nations Population First, is involved in doing a lot of life skills education for young boys and girls, adolescent boys and girls, and that's one of the key areas we work on, wherein we integrate gender concepts. I'm also so glad that you raised the issue of men and masculinities. And yes, I would one of my concluding statements would be that being pro-woman does not necessarily mean anti-men. And you know what? Amir covered, one of the project was also supported by us. It's one of the largest project in Asia Pacific region. So thank you so much for, raising that issue. Just conclude by stating here that I hope with women like you, such amazing women like you who've try to challenge the normal stereotypes. We would have our cameras focusing not so much on bodies of women, but on, trying to bring out the identity of the protagonist that they play. Thank you so much for being here with us and taking out so much time. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Monica, for
Thank
also.
you. Now I'll take over as the MC was from the panel, being a panelist. So thank you, ladies. It's been absolute pleasure and honor to be sitting in a panel with you, and we have a token of appreciation for you as well. Can I request Mr. Swami to please come on stage to hand over the token of appreciation to Dia and Richa? Yes, we do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Super, thank you.
I think we'll take a photo op with everybody. Yes, please come. Yes, please. Vishaka? Vishaka. Come quickly. Come. Mr. Nair.
Please, sir. I'll stand behind. Yes, of course, you're tall and wise, I'm sure you can.
Stay, sir. Mr. Ray, can we have you on stage for being a wonderful man to have appreciated our time concerns and really getting the message short and sweet?
One small.
Sure, sure.
Anuja, I don't know whether you did that purposely, but I think that was the best remark of the day. After working so closely with Population First, what you said was wonderful, but unconsciously, without realizing that you work for United Nations Population First. Is good because, it's good because Bobby and Sharda have played an immense role in making us be where we are as a UNFPA today. And thank you for that.
This is for you, Sharda signature too.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you once again, everybody, for waiting for so long. Again, for all the speakers and the guests, hope you've had a wonderful day and something constructive all of you taking away with. I will now sign off as your host, Monica Tata. Thank you so very much once again.